My new partner asked me the same question every night before we left work. At first, I thought he was just being annoying. Did you lock gate 3? Every single night. No matter how busy we were, no matter how quiet the shift had been, no matter how many times he had watched me lock it with his own eyes, he'd still ask, "Did you lock gate 3? I work night security at a distribution warehouse just outside the city. Nothing exciting ever happens there. Hundreds of trucks come and go during the day. By midnight, the place is practically empty. The warehouse has 3 vehicle gates. Gate 1 is where deliveries arrive. Gate 2 is where trucks leave in the morning. Gate 3, well, it's just another gate. At least that's what I thought. I'd worked there for almost 4 years before Grant showed up. Most nights followed the same routine. Walk the perimeter. Check the cameras. Log every truck. Lock the gates. Go home. Security isn't exciting. If everything goes right, it's one of the most boring jobs in the world. That's exactly why I liked it. No surprises, no emergencies, just routines. Then my old partner retired. A week later, they assigned me someone new. His name was Grant. Mid-40s. Short gray beard. Always wearing the same faded black jacket, even inside the office. He wasn't unfriendly. He just never spoke unless he absolutely had to. The warehouse manager noticed me trying to make conversation during Grant's first shift. He smiled. "Don't take it personally. He's quiet with everyone." Turns out he was right. The first few nights were almost silent. We watched camera feeds, filled out reports, walked the property. If I asked something, Grant answered. If I stayed quiet, so did he. Honestly, after years of working with a partner who talked nonstop, the silence was actually nice. The first strange thing happened at the end of our 3rd shift together. Everything was already locked. The reports were finished. The office lights were off. We were halfway across the parking lot toward our cars when Grant suddenly stopped. He looked at me. "Did you lock gate 3? I laughed. "Yeah." He nodded once. "Good." That was it. I figured he simply hadn't seen me lock it. The next night, same question. "Did you lock gate 3? "Yeah." "Good." 3rd night. 4th. 5th. Always at the exact same spot in the parking lot. Always the exact same question. Always the exact same answer. Eventually, I started answering before he even asked. "Yes." "I locked gate 3. He'd nod. "Good." One night, I beat him to it. As we stepped outside, I pointed back toward the warehouse. "Let me guess. Gate 3. For the first time, and I saw the corner of Grant's mouth move. Not really a smile, just enough to notice. Gate 3. Then he kept walking. It became part of our routine. And honestly, I stopped thinking about it. Everybody has little habits. Some people check their pockets 3 times before leaving the house. Some people pull on a locked door twice just to make sure. Grant asked about Gate 3. That was just his thing. Weeks went by, nothing happened. Then one Friday, everything seemed determined to go wrong. A delivery truck showed up almost an hour late. One loading bay alarm kept malfunctioning. Rain knocked out 2 exterior cameras. A forklift broke down near Dock 5. By the time we'd finished the paperwork, it was almost 1 in the morning. I was exhausted. I locked all 3 gates, signed the report, shut off the office lights, and walked straight to my car. I didn't even notice Grant wasn't beside me. I climbed in, started the engine, turned on the headlights. Then, for some reason, I looked back toward the warehouse. Grant was standing exactly where we'd split up, perfectly still, watching me. I rolled my window down. "You coming?" He didn't answer. Instead, he slowly raised one hand, not waving, pointing toward Gate 3. I let out the loudest sigh of my life. "You've got to be kidding me." I shut the engine off, got back out. The rain was coming down harder now. By the time I reached the fence, my boots were soaked. I grabbed the chain wrapped around the gate, pulled it once, locked. Pulled it again, still locked, just to prove a point. I checked the padlock itself. Secure. I turned around. Grant hadn't moved. He was still standing in the parking lot, waiting. I walked back. It's locked. Grant took a slow breath, almost like he'd been holding it. Then he simply said, "Good." That should have been the end of it. But for some reason, that slow breath stayed with me. It wasn't relief. Not exactly. It felt more like someone crossing an item off a checklist. The next evening, I finally asked, "So what's the deal with Gate 3? Grant didn't answer. I thought maybe he hadn't heard me. We kept watching the security monitors. 1 minute passed, maybe 2. Finally, he spoke without looking away from the screens. "The only night I didn't check it." He stopped. I waited. Someone else did. Silence. I looked at him. He kept watching the monitors, like he'd never said anything at all. I almost asked what that meant, who had checked it, why it mattered. Instead, I looked over at camera 12, the one pointed directly at Gate 3. For the first time since I'd started working there, I found myself watching that gate instead of everything else. For the rest of that shift, I couldn't stop glancing at camera 12, not because I expected to see something, because Grant's answer wouldn't leave my head. The only night I didn't check it. Someone else did. It sounded like the kind of sentence people come up with after too many years working alone. A superstition. Nothing more. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. The next few weeks felt normal. Too normal.
Every night we finished our patrol.
Every night we checked the cameras. Every night we locked the building. And every night, just before reaching our cars, Grant asked, "Did you lock gate 3?" The strange part was, I stopped finding it annoying. Without realizing it, I started expecting the question. Some nights, I'd answer before he even opened his mouth. "It's locked." Grant would simply nod. Good. That was enough. One Tuesday, Grant disappeared for almost 15 minutes during our shift. I found him standing outside near gate 3. He wasn't inspecting the fence. He wasn't checking the lock. He was just looking at it. "You lose something?" He turned toward me. "No." "Then what are you doing?" He looked back at the gate. "Making sure." I laughed. "Making sure of what?" He didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed the chain, pulled it once, then walked away. A few nights later, Grant was in the restroom when our shift ended. For the first time, nobody asked me about gate 3. I shut the office lights off, walked across the parking lot, unlocked my car, opened the driver's door. Then, I stopped. Something didn't feel right. I looked back towards the warehouse. Gate 3. I stood there for almost 10 seconds arguing with myself. This is ridiculous. You locked it. You watched yourself lock it. Just go home. Instead, I shut the car door, walked all the way back across the parking lot, checked the chain, pulled it once. Locked. I actually laughed at myself. What am I doing? As I turned around, Grant was standing outside the office, watching me. He didn't smile. He didn't say, "I told you so." He only asked one question. "Locked?" I nodded. "It's locked." He gave the smallest nod I'd ever seen. Good. That bothered me far more than if he'd laughed, because somehow he'd known I'd go back. After that night, something changed. Not with Grant, with me. Every shift, I'd glance at camera 12 a little longer than the others. Every patrol, I'd find myself slowing down near gate 3. Sometimes, I'd even pull on the chain, even though I'd locked it myself 20 minutes earlier. I never told anyone, mostly because I knew how stupid it sounded. Then one evening, the warehouse manager called us into his office. Grant was retiring, end of the month, just like that. No speech, no celebration. He simply said he'd had enough night shifts. Grant didn't react. He thanked the manager, signed a few papers, and went right back to work, like nothing had happened. His final week felt strangely quiet, quieter than usual. Neither of us mentioned his retirement. Neither of us talked about gate 3. The question still came every night. "Did you lock gate 3? "Yeah." Good. It had become so normal, I couldn't imagine ending a shift without hearing it. On Grant's final night, we finished our patrol earlier than usual. No alarms, No late trucks, no rain. Just silence. We shut down the office, locked the main entrance, started walking toward the parking lot one last time. Halfway there, Grant stopped. I almost smiled. Here it comes! But he didn't ask. He simply stood there, looking at me. Waiting. I stared back for a second. Then, without thinking, I sighed. I'll be right back. I turned around, walked to gate 3, grabbed the chain, pulled it once. Locked. Pulled it again. Still locked. I walked back. It's locked. Grant looked at me for a long moment. For the first time since we'd met, he smiled. A real smile. Small, tired, but real. I know. Those were the last words he ever said to me. He got into his truck, started the engine, drove away. I never saw him again. A week later, they assigned me another partner. His name was Tyler, 23, talkative, always joking. The complete opposite of Grant. On his first night, he asked me why I kept staring at camera 12. I told him it was habit. He laughed. You've got some weird habits. Maybe I did. A month later, our shift ended. We shut the lights off, walked across the parking lot. Tyler was talking about baseball. I wasn't really listening. We reached our cars. He opened his driver's door. Then, before I even realized what I was doing, I called out, "Hey!" He looked up. "Yeah?" I heard myself ask the exact same question. "Did you lock gate 3? Tyler looked confused. Yeah." I nodded. Good. He stood there for a second, then laughed. Dude, you literally watched me lock it. I know. He shrugged, got into his car, and drove away. I stood alone in that parking lot for another minute, looking toward the warehouse, toward gate 3. I still don't know what Grant meant. Maybe nothing ever happened there. Maybe one mistake was enough to haunt him for the rest of his career. Or maybe, after enough years, some routines stop being about safety and become something else entirely. I still work at that warehouse. I still lock all 3 gates every night. Gate 1, Gate 2, Gate 3. And every single evening, just before I get into my car, I pull on the chain one last time. Not because I think it's unlocked. Not because I think someone's waiting on the other side. Because after all this time, I honestly don't know why anymore.